So this is Louis, also known as the guy about to rip off the side of his desktop and rip out a fan that's making noise and won't stop. It might be dirty. It might be off sync. I don't really know what the problem is. Who knows if this is going to be the take, but I might have to stop recording, rip off the panel on the side of my tower, and just turn off that fan, unplug it, or whatever. Take it out, clean it, something, but it's fucking irritating me. And I hear the furnace in the other room starting up, so that's great too. So lots of noise in this commentary as we talk about Iowa, or at least I'll attempt to. So if you're unfamiliar of the news of the day, Iowa has been a disaster. That's what everyone's calling it, an unmitigated disaster. Trump, I think it was Trump or somebody else kicked it off, but that's the phrase of the day, unmitigated disaster, to describe Iowa. Because the state was supposed to be decided in terms of the delegate count by the end of last night. So somewhere around 11, it was supposed to come in. We have a good idea who's going to win. And it was, as far as I could tell, Bernie was the favorite to win. People are reporting different things, and I'm not even going to bother going through the polls and stuff that are basically, it was Buttigieg, Warren, Bernie, Biden. Those were the group that had a chance. Here's an article on The Spectator by Michael Tracy, where it's called Void the Iowa Caucus Results. So you might be asking, Louis, how did we get from it's just the Iowa caucus, whatever, Iowa doesn't really matter. And in presidential politics, Iowa really doesn't matter. But what happened for him to write this fucking article? And it's everything. It's everything. Like, there's videos of people trying to report their vote counts to, like, the head office, and they're getting hung up on live television. It happens. There are several videos, at least 3 videos, of delegates being decided based off of really weird coin tosses where you don't hear them call it. Or the one here where the guy, like, catches it in his hand and basically, like, flips it over. It, like, pinches his hand and flips it over and then puts it in his hand as though that's a fair coin toss. And they all keep going to Buttigieg. So I'm going to get into it in a second here, but there's just on the surface so much wrong with this. And if you go by the reporting, whether it's ABC, whether it's New York Times, like, it is all over the place as to what the fuck is going on. And depending on how deep you want to get, there are several issues in this. Like, especially if Buttigieg wins. If Buttigieg actually wins Iowa, that is going to be very suspect. Because as far as I can tell, he wasn't the favorite. He was in the play, right? He was in the race to win, but he wasn't the favorite. It was Biden and Bernie. They were the ones that were the favorites to win. So if it's an upset, and Buttigieg, despite having very little national support, actually manages to win it, then a lot of these other aspects to what's going on have to be questioned. First, the coin tosses. Why are delegates being decided by coin toss? And why are they all going to Buttigieg? Like, that seems to be the commonality among the videos being passed around on YouTube, is they keep going to Buttigieg. I've seen the Bernie people screaming all over Twitter. You know, DNC rigged is currently trending on American Twitter. It's currently at 12,000 tweets. Like, this is the story. Fucking Pete the Cheat. Hashtag Pete the Cheat. 12,000 tweets trending on Twitter in America right now. Like, if Pete Buttigieg wins this, holy shit is this suspect. Because if you look at, and I'm going to find Tim Pool's tweet here. If you go under it, there's this shadow app. So this has been reported and contradicted from several different sources. The results were supposed to be put into this application called Shadow. And basically that's how you tally the results. Like, that's the communication mechanism in which they can tally the results. But the issue is that the app wasn't working. So it was reported that the app was down. But then that was contradicted and said, no, the app isn't down. It's just that people aren't logging in correctly because they're boomers. Then it was reported it's not that they're boomers. It's that the application isn't accepting passwords for those trying to report it. So we got like 3 or 4 different stories as to what's going on with this application. And I've seen it from like several different sources, actual mainstream sources that are reporting it, where people are on the ground reporting it. It's not just people speculating on Twitter. It's people on the ground reporting that something's gone wrong with this application. There's people reporting this, and this is more speculative, but the people responsible for the app are tacitly aligned with Hillary Clinton and Pete Buttigieg. It's being alleged that Pete Buttigieg, to some capacity, one capacity or another, gave money or has some kind of connection to the developer of the application. Now, I don't know how true that is. That's what's being said on Twitter. But even if that's untrue, let's just say for the benefit of the doubt that Pete Buttigieg has nothing to do with this application, that the reporting that's on Twitter of his connection to this mechanism in which they're supposed to communicate the results, that's factually untrue. It's weird that all of a sudden the passwords are changed. So now they have to rely on the phone lines. You have on live television them hanging up on the people trying to tally the results. Like, I'm calling in, ready to tell you the results, and they're hanging up on them. And it's taking so long. Like, here we are into the next day. Like, we're almost into the evening. We're in the late afternoon, headed towards the evening, and we still don't know the fucking results. Why is it taking so long? And why are people preemptively flipping out about Pete Buttigieg? Why? I mean, maybe I'm going to have egg on my face. Biden wins, Bernie picks it up, and Pete loses. But why are so many people concentrating on Pete Buttigieg right now? To the tunes of tens of thousands of people that are talking about this currently. Why is it specifically him? Like, it's because of everything going on with this. Why is it that if you go to Fox News, if you go to NBC, if you go to ABC, if you go to the New York Times, they're all reporting different things. They're all reporting different details. They're reporting contradictory details of what is going on. Is this corruption? Like, Fox News is reporting that at the very minimum, this application and the company behind it is linked to Hillary Clinton. So there's that. But that's, even that you can defend to say, well, she was the candidate last time with the DNC. It's just a holdover. Holdover company, holdover application. It was developed for now. There's ways in which you can defend this. But the issue is, who wins it? If you go by what's been reported about Joe Biden's support collapsing, that right now Bernie Sanders is ascendant and Joe Biden is crumbling, all of a sudden you have Pete Buttigieg, who is a corporatist. He is just an establishment figure. He slips in there and somehow carries Iowa, even though he's in like the top 3, maybe. He might be number 4. I'm not even sure. I'd have to go back to the polling and see what's been reported. But like I said, he wasn't the favorite. Rural state, he's gay. You don't think that there's something there to that? Like, I don't know what to tell you. He has no black support, and when it comes to Christian support, it's got to be less. It's got to be less than other candidates. I don't know whether you could consider Iowa Midwest, because it's sandwiched between Illinois, Nebraska, and Minnesota and Wisconsin, yes. That's a rural part of the country. Even though boomers, as a majority, might support gay marriage, that doesn't automatically translate to Democrats in a more rural state automatically voting for Pete Buttigieg over Biden and Bernie. The majority of the country, by a huge number, a huge proportion, are Christian. You can say that because Iowa is not a particularly black state, that could buoy Pete Buttigieg up in terms of support. But even knowing the numbers, I have to question whether this is the kind of state that he can win. This is a state that I would assume that Warren would have a better chance at this state than Buttigieg. If this was more coastal, if this was more urban, I mean, even there you got the question of the black vote, if Buttigieg can win. I don't really see Pete Buttigieg picking up a lot of states. The gay factor is a factor. Despite progressive activists, this is a factor. Like, a lot of the delegates are boomers. And so you have to question whether boomer majority support of gay marriage automatically translates to boomers being willing to vote for a gay president. The same issues with women. You can vote for a woman senator, but I don't think it automatically translates to voting for a woman president. People are judgmental when it comes to being who they want to be president. If you look at history, there's a lot of commonalities between different presidents. A lot of commonalities. And if you are a woman or you're gay or you're some kind of abnormality of that formula, you're at a disadvantage. Buttigieg might have some support in the media and within the party infrastructure itself, and he does. But is it any more than with Warren or with Biden? I'm not really sure. So if he wins this state, to me, there's a question around it. Even if there's no real issue with this application, there's no connection to him really, even if all that's innocent, if he wins this state, to me, there's a real question here. And what this does, even if he loses, and let's say Bernie wins, this has still tainted the waters. This has still poisoned the well. This is a mark against the DNC because a lot of people see this as suspicious. I don't really care. I'm not voting for a Democrat. Any one of these people could win the state or win the candidacy to run for the Democratic ticket. I don't care. I'm not voting for them. But I can see why people are so upset because this is similar to what happened with Hillary and Bernie last time around. There's a lot of coincidences. There's a lot of so-called innocent failure and miscommunication and incompetence, very coincidental incompetence, convenient incompetence, that Bernie was the favorite to win as far as I could tell. And if not him, you got Joe Biden, who barely knows where he is or what his name is half the time. So for Buttigieg to pick up the state, or even Warren, either one would have been a surprise. It would have been an upset, as far as I've seen the polling and from what people have reported. Even if, though, it is Bernie or Biden, there is something suspicious here. There's a stink. There's a stench of something going wrong in a way that is very convenient for the powers that be, and not for Bernie. He will have the activists, of course, on his back 24/7 to implement socialist nonsense, but the DNC and the corporate elite are also going to be on his back in the same way the neocons and the globalists and the internationalists are with Trump. With Trump, he'll stand up for himself in what he believes in every now and then. He'll cave, and he has caved on several issues, and still has internationalists that are part of his cabinet. But Bernie, on the other hand, is a total pussy and rolls over every fucking time. I mean, when Hillary Clinton fucked him out of the nomination, and he could have lost anyways, but when she fucked him over and they cheated him, he bent down and kissed the ring. He is a pussy. He is a coward. So even if he somehow won the presidency, even if you want to, agree with Trump that he's a communist.
Bernie Sanders.
Well, I think he's a communist. I mean, look, I think of communism when I think of Bernie.
I don't really know how much you could actually, how much damage he could do, what he could actually implement. He would have 2 years tops in the House to do whatever. It would be up until 2 years later where the Republicans would storm the House, and they would have firm control in the Senate and the House with him as president. He would get very little done outside of executive orders and what he could do within his office. So I'm not really afraid of a Bernie Sanders presidency. However, if you think of it, though, it's like, what is the reasoning? What is the reasoning behind cheating him? And I don't know. Maybe it's too early to tell. Maybe, because Warren has collapsed, now the powers that be are trying to back Buttigieg. Maybe he's the go-to guy now. That because Biden's collapsing in the polls and collapsing in support, and he's out of it completely, it keeps making insane gaffes, like telling people not to vote for him and shit. Because he's so gaffe-prone and so out of control, it keeps touching people, too. Perhaps the powers that be, they, so to say, are trying to get Buttigieg in there. They're trying to get him national support. They're trying to give him a couple states. Maybe that's what's going on. Or maybe he's just so corrupt and has so many connections that maybe Buttigieg is, in fact, trying to use his connections to basically fuck over the others and pick up Iowa. And use that as basically a springboard into other states, even though he doesn't really have a lot of national support. I don't know what the strategy is. That's what I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think of what is the strategy here. What would be the reason? It could be that this is all coincidence, but I don't know, man. I'll tell you to go read these articles. Go read these articles I've listed. Go look around on Twitter. There's a lot about this that stinks. And perhaps it's just a matter of waiting to see what happens. But like I said, if Pete Buttigieg wins Iowa, this is going to result in turmoil that will definitely make 2016 look like nothing. Because you're going to have the Warren people, the Biden people, and the Bernie people all ganging up. Not together, but ganging up and going after Buttigieg now. Maybe Hillary Clinton has some shit in the background where she's teaming up with Buttigieg. Maybe that's it, because there's the connection between Hillary and this company, and that's been said by, in the news. That's been reported. Whether it's innocent or not, we don't know. Is anything innocent with Hillary Clinton? We don't know. But yeah, I think if Buttigieg pulls this off, it's going to result in inter-party chaos for the Democrats. But if it doesn't, and Biden or Bernie manages to win Iowa, then it's still going to cause turmoil, and people are going to start ganging up. Maybe the powers that be start going after Buttigieg. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Biden pulls some strings, Hillary pulls some strings, Warren pulls some strings, and everyone in the powers that be start ganging up on Buttigieg for him potentially trying to pull off some, ace in the hole maneuver where he picks up Iowa. We don't know yet, but I thought I would cover this just for the sake of this being the news of the day, and it's in the afternoon, and shit's still crazy. Shit is still going right now. It's nuts. I guess we'll see what happens, and maybe I'll do an update in like a news stream in the future. All right? Thanks for listening.